What's up everyone, Trent here, welcome to the Fortress. I have just come from a special screening of Alita Battle Angel, the latest film from producer James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez. So, what did I think about it? Stay tuned to find out. Subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up if you like, and follow our handles at Fortress Nerds and discuss with us everything you like in the comments below. And as always, welcome to the Fortress. Now, I have gone into this movie as a complete blank slate. I've not read the manga. The trailers really didn't do much for me, even though it did look visually stunning. So I am kind of basing this off my own interpretation of events, and I've got two really big questions that I asked myself before going in that I would answer at the end. And that is, did I enjoy the film, and does it make me want to pick up the manga and read it? I can honestly say yes to both. I really want to go and explore this world more. It was really, really well done. Robert Rodriguez visually encapsulates this dystopian world that Alita finds herself in and just really brings it to life. I didn't think he would be the director for this role, but then I thought of other movies that he'd done like Sin City and Grindhouse, and seeing that this is a cyberpunk film, he's perfect for it, and having James Cameron's money coming in as a producer and all the equipment and effects just really built up even more, and I really want to enjoy this world more. It is so immersive from the very first scene. It's beautifully set. The animation is absolutely stunning and flawless. We did see it in 3D, and I'm not normally one for gimmicks, but see this in 3D. If you're going to see any movie, see a James Cameron produced movie. They have the technology to make it awesome, and it's not just a here's the front layer, here's the back. There's so much depth to it, and it doesn't take anything away from the animation at all. In fact, it actually adds a lot more, particularly in the action sequences when everything's just coming straight at you. Now, this world, the Iron City, it's dystopian, it's destroyed. You have people living in slum-like conditions, living upon houses. If you've seen Ready Player One, it's very similar to that, and I would liken it even to those kind of houses that you see in Brazil where everyone's in a really big clutter. It's like that, and when nightfall comes, that's when you get the really grimy, seedy underbelly coming through with the neon lights going and the smoke coming up out of the drains. It looks like you're in kind of a Sin City, kind of Star Wars bounty hunter-esque world. It is absolutely visually breathtaking. Now, the plot sees resident of Iron City, Dr. Dyson Ido, find a humanetic cyborg in the rubble underneath the floating city above. He takes it in, rebuilds it in his daughter's body, and we come to have Alita. So this is very much a story of finding your own self and finding your own kind of identity within a body that may not be yours. It's got a lot of good self-exploration and commentary on how we all grow up, but it doesn't have that kind of Frankenstein's monster kind of feel to it that I know a lot of other people have kind of likened it to. I got really immersed in this story. The characterization was absolutely fantastic. You grew with Alita and you saw her grow. She's this naive girl who's super optimistic and just wants to do good in the world in this really terrible place that's full of bounty hunters and scum and people trying to absolutely destroy everyone else's lives. And that's where we find out that Dr. Ido, he's a hunter-killer who goes around and hunts people who have a huge bounty on their head, mostly cyborgs. So we get these different populations. We get cyborgs who are generally displayed as these kind of terrible people, much like the Reavers in X-Men, if you had to think of them like anything. And she's introduced to this boy called Hugo, who's kind of a little bit of a bad egg. He's got a dark, edgy side to him, and he introduces her to the sport of motorball, which you see frequently in the trailers as this very rough, brutal sport where cyborgs battle each other to score a point at the end, and it's virtually a battle to the death. So we get introduced to Hugo. Hugo is played by Keenan Johnson, and he's probably the weakest of the characterization. We don't get much growth from him at all. It's very bland. He's not versatile in his acting, and he's always just got that cute little puppy dog face that you kind of just get sick of. There's not really much depth there, and even when he is kind of trying to be built as a strong character, you just don't buy into it, and everything that he does kind of seems forced. And I think that's what you're kind of getting when you're going for a rookie actor. You may not have that acting ability to kind of make the relationship between him and Alita kind of believable, because it does build up and it does have a really crucial role. I just don't think it hits that peak. However, that being said, Dr. Dyson Ido, played by Christoph Waltz, is amazing. Waltz can do no wrong when it comes to any movie. He's always the star and he's always a scene stealer. He is the lovable father figure in this film, and he is amazing. You empathize with him when he tells a story about how he lost his daughter. You sympathize with him. You do everything. You kind of feel like you are going on the journey of fatherhood with him, because he cannot live that with his daughter as he's now doing with Alita. So you kind of get that bond, and he's just such a good actor, so versatile and so solid. He really adds to this movie. But the main star, who does really, really well with the CGI face, is Alita herself, Rosa Salazar. People may know Salazar from the Divergent series and the Maze Runner series, so she's got the acting experience. She's done these big blockbusters before, but she really brings it down a notch to show those kind of emotive characterizations that we get. You feel for her, you grow with her. It's really encapsulating, it's really good. But then she also does the action sequences as well. And how much of that CGI, that's obviously up in the air, how much they've captured from live animation and all that, and what she's actually doing. But her voice work and her characterization and facial expression, if they have captured her through motion capture, is fantastic in all these scenes. And that's where the movie really shines. That is the blending of the character moments, the emotional moments where we're exploring the world and finding ourselves, and the action sequences. The action sequences are so good. What you run the risk of with a cybernetic cyborg kind of battle is everything blurring into one and being this one cluttered mess, kind of like Venom and Transformers. It's not at all. Everything is meticulously done. You can see all the little attention to detail in every element of the fight. You can identify who she's fighting and where, and just the effects, the sound effects, the animation, everything just blends super well. My biggest critique of this movie is actually the plot itself. It feels really weak. We don't get to learn much of Alita's backstory. It's learned through background kind of flashbacks as the movie progresses. But once it starts progressing and you start getting really interested, boom, it cuts away to something different and it pulls back on the brakes. So then all the characterization and all the development, all the excitement you get and engrossment, it kind of steps it back and you're like, oh, I was getting really into that, and then you kind of pulled away again. But also, it's deliberately omitted a lot of key information that is vital for a movie to set up the sequel. We don't learn why she wants to get to the city above. We learn vaguely that she's on a mission to get there, and that's at the very, very end. But we don't know why. We don't know why this person is such an evil person on the city, and why there's such a divide between the higher and lower levels. I didn't like that. I wanted it to be more contained within the movie, so then we can look to a sequel later and kind of get her up there and get her fighting the bad guy. But we don't get that. Instead, we get this really long-winded plot where, yeah, great, it feels like the movie's going to keep going, and then it suddenly ends. There's like a 3-month or 5-month period at the end that's time-lapsed and fast-forward, and boom, that's the end of it. And you're just like, oh, you feel shorted. It's almost like The Lord of the Rings, except you don't know what's coming, unless you've read the manga, you don't know what's coming next. But you feel very shorted because of it, because there's not really any kind of big climax. But that's just that's a small thing. Mashallah Ali, he is wasted in this film. He is so good of an actor. But Vector, who's kind of the main villain, didn't get enough screen time, and you didn't know what his motives were aside from rigging motorball games. He was controlled by Edward Norton's uncredited cameo of Nova. Once again, you don't know why they're doing this, so why do you want to care? That's the biggest issue with me, is that kind of, why are we caring about the villains and why is this happening? We don't get enough information. And that's not a bad thing if the sequel comes and explains it. But when you're putting all your eggs in one basket for this to actually have a sequel, you kind of want a bit of closure. So that's my minor gripe to an overall fantastic movie. The music was amazing, beautiful cinematics, beautiful rock music when it came on. It got you really energized. I really enjoyed this movie, and I hope you guys do too. It's one of the best manga adaptations, I'm assuming, because I haven't read the manga, but it's made me want to go back to the world more and made me want to really enjoy this and get into it. So yeah, I'm going to give it probably a 7.5 out of 10. There were just those little shortcomings that kind of ruined it for me, but it is fantastic. It is visually stunning. Go and see it in 3D just for the action sequences and the animation. It is amazing. I hope you really enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts on the movie and the review in the comments below. If you disagree with anything, I'm happy to discuss it with you. I love discussing with our fans and subscribers, and even if you're not a subscriber, you may like us. Check out our other videos, follow our handles at Fortress Nerds, subscribe, and you're watching The Fortress. I'm Trent.